Welcome to See You on the Other Side, where the world of the mysterious collides with the world of entertainment. A discussion of art, music, movies, spirituality, the weird, and self-discovery. And now, your hosts, musicians and entertainers who have their own weakness for the weird. Mike and Wendy from the band Sunspot.
Oh no, the vacuum just...
Okay, so if you can't tell by the sound of the vacuum in the next room, we're
on location
at the Comfort Inn in Alton, Illinois.
The beautiful Comfort Inn.
Yep, and once again
the comfortable Comfort Inn.
We are joined by Allison Jorlin from Milwaukee Ghosts.
Yay.
Hi everybody.
Hi, Allison.
And Allison called me a couple weeks ago, and she said she wanted to go to the Haunted America Conference.
Yeah, like I do. I want to go every year.
And so we decided to come down and check it out.
Yeah, I actually haven't been for a number of years, but this year, I guess they were back here last year, and I missed a memo or something, but this year they're back in Alton, Illinois.
Yep, this is the conference that's run by Troy Taylor from...
the American Ghost Society.
Yep, and Troy's written like maybe 1,000 books on ghosts.
I don't know, pretty many. Just a whole heap of books.
But he's the guy that really got everything started in Illinois as far as in this area when it comes to ghost tours and books and things like that.
In southern Illinois. And Alton was the longtime home of the conference.
Yep, and so if you're... we were in Alton before, in March of 2015.
That's right, yes.
We came here for the first date of the El Chupacabra tour.
Yep.
And,
Classic.
And played at Mavis in Alton, Illinois, and interviewed Alton Ghost's own Luke Nalaborski.
That's right.
That's right. He was here
We saw
this
him,
weekend.
yeah.
He was. We saw him. A good Polish man.
Real
And-
nice guy.
I remember at the interview, or the last time around, I remember him talking about the Ghost Conference. So we actually...
So we were happy to make it this year.
Yeah.
And Len Adams was back from Lebanon Ghost Tours, Lebanon, Illinois. And
It's not like Beirut, Lebanon, so you don't have to
Yeah.
worry that somebody's going to blow you up.
no, but it's spooky, maybe not as scary as
Not
far
as-
as
not
you
as
know,
murderous.
not as explosive maybe, but I heard that we didn't get to actually see the Friday events because we came in late on Friday and we missed Luke and Len.
The panel discussion
Yeah,
that they had.
before that they talked about strange stuff, so I don't know.
What's strange stuff? I mean, we know what strange stuff means.
Yeah, well, the conference for years and years would begin with strange stuff, and I forget the gentleman's name. There was a gentleman who originally would deliver the talk for years and years and years, and he was quite elderly, and
And now he's probably dead.
yeah, he did. He is deceased.
Okay.
And so Luke and Len took it over.
Okay.
And then this was their first reprisal
Of the strange stuff
of the
thing.
strange stuff opener to the conference.
So if you guys don't know where Alton, Illinois is, we are by St. Louis. So what about 20 miles from St. Louis, I think?
We're
Yeah.
right across the bridge, and we're on the Mississippi River, so it's part of the Great River Road. So
So I didn't want to... I mean, I really hated St. Louis when I was a kid because they beat the Brewers in the 1982 World Series.
How
And
dare
I
they.
really was upset about this for at least probably until second grade. From kindergarten to second grade, I was at least pretty upset about this. And when the Brewers lost the World Series, I cried.
really, I
And-
had no
And
idea.
it's actually the
That's
single...
because you never paid attention to me when I was a child.
Well, and I'm completely oblivious to sports.
But this is the only sports event that Mike has repeatedly brought up. It's not
yeah.
only the only sports event he's ever talked about,
He's
but
got
he's talked
so many
about it.
skeletons in his closet.
It's just
pathetic.
like, if he goes into sports, I know it's going to be something with the Brewers and the Cardinals or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So, even the fact that we're this close to St. Louis hurts me deep.
we even crossed the border yesterday.
We
We
did.
went into Missouri.
So,
Yeah, we did.
But-
Gotta get your Thai food.
That's right.
but the Haunted America Conference
Yes, back to
was
the top.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into it and
We are.
recap
So-
the many very interesting speakers.
It was excellent.
Yep.
And talk about the vendors as well.
So we didn't get until 11 o'clock on Friday night.
Yeah.
So we made it for the most important part of the conference. The party.
Well, I went to bed, but you guys
Yeah.
partied
You
on
were at the
into
party for a while.
Oh, well, yeah, for a little
Come
bit.
on, let's not Allison, you partied too.
Okay.
And it's okay to party every once in a while.
It's okay.
I drank my limit in water.
You did.
And I tried to drink my limit in beer, but they they made it they closed.
But it was only $2 beers.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. Like $2 beers.
And they
Now
were-
it's a party.
Yeah,
The
anyway.
water was free. Free water, everybody.
Amazing. It's like wall drug.
That's
Free ice water.
I know, that's really incredible. The only problem is it has no alcohol in it.
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah,
all
I
right.
noticed
So-
that.
So we made some friends at the party and we saw some people that we already knew.
Yep.
Yeah, talk
So that
about
was
that
exciting.
because you guys are like conference vets now because you were at the Paradigm. You're like totally in with the in crowd.
Well, it's exciting because this is only the third paranormal convention that I've ever been to.
I know, and you're
The first
already
one-
like right there with the upper crust, and I'm going to bed early.
No. But it is fun that now. So the first one was Milwaukee last year, about a
Oh,
year ago.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Paradigm one that we were just at in April, and then now this one. But it's fun to start seeing people that you're just recognizing people from other conferences and stuff. It's like,
yeah,
hey,
you're gonna
buddies.
have to give us that newbie perspective. I mean, what it's like for you,
Oh,
coming
that's right.
into the
Because you're a
arena.
veteran. How many times have you been to this one?
I don't even know. A lot.
You need a punch card.
Yeah, because I
You are
was-
the Chinese buffet regular.
I think I started coming to Troy's events like around the year 2000.
Wow.
So, I haven't gone every year since then, but
I'm
I've
sure
been
you
to
probably.
several, yeah.
I bet you saw familiar faces because a lot of the
Yeah.
people that I talked to were like, "Oh, I've been coming to this forever."
Right, I
You
did. There are some
A lot of
people
Cardinals fans.
who were in it from the beginning.
That's cool, and it's cool that there's enough to talk about and enough news from year to year.
Yeah, and this was actually the 20th. We had a long discussion in the
Yeah.
car as well.
So is it the 20th anniversary or is it the 20th conference?
anniversary or the 20th conference? And we're not going to go into
No, we
to
won't.
all that because
No.
it's just too
We've
complicated.
been through it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it hurts my brain.
The fact is, if you count your fingers, this is the 20th
Oh, no,
conference.
here we go.
But it's not the 20th anniversary.
Right, okay.
And so I got into a fist fight with somebody about that. Party on Friday.
We talked about
And
staging
he was
such
like,
an event.
"This is the 20th anniversary." I'm like, "No, sir. This is the 20th conference, not
Yeah.
the 20th anniversary."
and you got belligerent as you usually do.
Well, what happened was fisticuffs.
yes.
All right, so
With cursed objects, you pulled out your
But
cursed blade.
We'll get to the cursed object.
but back to the newbie perspective.
yeah.
What's cool is that these conventions,
Well,
conferences.
yeah, conference. Yeah.
These conventions. Like she just discovered the word.
Okay.
They're unconventions.
Oh. Man, I need my sound effects. Little like,
We're a little bit tired today.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
so
Sunday
sorry.
morning after the
It's
Haunted American
Sunday
Conference.
morning.
let's not forget, we just had our fill of buffet. Like
Yeah.
breakfast, they had waffles.
Yeah. And then I had lots of leftovers.
Yeah.
From Thai food
So-
and Mexican food and
We basically doubled our weights. Anyway.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm hurting right now.
I'm like 360 pounds right now.
Showing a lack of intestinal fortitude at this very moment.
The thing that I've found fun is that these conferences, you think a paranormal conference, they're all going to be kind of the same. They're totally different. Like each one has its own personality and feel. And I don't know. Do you think that too?
No, I definitely think that each one is different in a way. And what I liked about this one is that Troy Taylor was a slave driver to the schedule.
Yes. Yeah.
And so he's like, okay, 15 minutes.
But they crammed a
If
lot
you're
of
late-
stuff.
You're done. You know,
They crammed so much into the day, which I thought was great because
He
you
was
know,
a really good timekeeper,
Yeah.
which is so hard to do.
it is.
yeah, so no, it's super difficult and not easy. And so he did a great job of that. And it really kept to what they said it was going to be. And I thought that the speakers here were excellent, but the character is different at each one. And I think that's the cities make a difference
Definitely
too.
does.
So
Yeah.
like this is, we were making jokes about Huckleberry Finn. on the
Right,
way down.
because of the Mississippi River.
Right.
That's
so that's how we got here actually from Wisconsin.
On a raft.
So we took a raft down from Wisconsin. And that's how we got here on Friday. And that's why we didn't get here till 11.
It took longer, but it was worth it. Getting
was.
here the traditional way.
But we were making jokes
Right.
about Huckleberry Finn, but it's the summertime. Alton, Illinois. It's 90,000 degrees.
It is.
And it's, what would you say the humidity is? 1,000%?
It was 50 yesterday.
The dew point, you mean?
The humidity was 50%.
Oh, wow.
Which means that 50% of the air is water.
So we're like swimming, basically.
Basically.
We're like evolving to have gills.
That's right.
Yes, at this point, I feel like a little reg.
I think
going
part of it
under
is the
my
time of
throat
year,
here.
and the fact is, I mean, summer in St. Louis is different than October in Milwaukee or Chicago.
Definitely a different feel.
Yeah.
But I think some of this feel came from the fact that it's 20 years old and people had come here for years and years. So like,
Relationships exist.
This is my 17th,
Yeah.
this is my 17th conference.
And there are groups of friends, people from different cities that knew
Yeah.
each other from.
And they
this.
completely isolated us and treated us poorly.
No,
No, not at
No,
all.
it was a family atmosphere.
Everybody was great.
Everybody
I thought.
was great.
too nice, in fact.
Yeah, I don't trust them. Like they're reptilian nice. So we got in at 11 o'clock, went to the Masquerade Bowl, had some beers, talked to some people, had some fun.
Ate a bunch of Chex Mix.
Yeah, we ate a lot of Chex Mix. Saw a cloud shaped like a skull. It was obviously a skull, and that was a sign.
Over the moon.
Yep.
Yep.
We'll put that picture up, and we'll put the pictures up. There'll be a variety of pictures.
Yes,
Oh,
like
goodness.
the skull over the moon. A startling example of pareidolia. Look
Yes.
it up, people.
So the first speaker on Saturday was Alan Brown,
Oh yeah.
who did haunted bed and breakfasts, and that was pretty fun. I thought, like, he did take a lot. We'll have Alan on the podcast because he writes a book about a week about all these the places that he's been to, and he's a Southerner himself, and so they've been down to Louisiana. He did a long long part about the Myrtles, where we have our own episode about the Myrtles.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, but it was fun. Like he took his passion for staying at bed and breakfasts and traveling with his wife, and they go around from place to place, and they just try to stay at haunted bed and breakfast.
Yeah, which is something I do
Yes.
as often as I can.
That's cool.
And,
So it's fun to see a kindred spirit up there.
yeah,
You know, talking about different places that you can visit, and you know, his thing was that a lot of these haunted places you can't get into, but bed and breakfasts are always available as a viable alternative as long as you know,
don't mind
pay-
getting tucked in by somebody dead.
yeah, and you can pay the tab for the bed and the breakfast. You know, you're in.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that was pretty fun, I thought.
What was the coolest story he had?
Well, he talked a lot about the Myrtles, and then he relied a little bit on like when he took photos. He's like, "Whoa, you check out this orb," and you know how I feel about orbs.
Right, you got a
Like-
personal vendetta against
Oh,
Orb.
come on, we all do because they're all BS. I almost ran.
Okay.
I almost ran up to the screen and I'm like, you had me at your good storytelling, and you seem like a nice guy.
Oh man, he's coming out strong against Orb. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I'm not going to apologize. And Troy,
Okay.
Troy didn't apologize when he talked about orbs.
That's
either.
true. He was in the
Oh, I
he was
missed
in
that
Mike's
part.
camp.
Yeah, of the man that hates orbs, Troy Taylor.
Wow.
He even hates cameras.
Yeah,
Or no, I'm sorry, it was digital cameras.
we'll get to that.
Hates everything digital.
But the thing is, I thought that they just had nice stories of like, well, we didn't really see anything, but we got some pictures and we had a good time. And he did a good job of separating.
You
He's
just
like,
made it sound really boring.
that's true. And I made him sound like
He had
100.
some nice stories. There was nothing really haunted,
I made
but
him
it was
sound like
nice.
110 years old.
Right,
You're
like-
so he came here and this is what he found, and
Back in '02,
then he had some blueberries with his oatmeal. Um,
and there's nothing really haunted or anything, but the stories were nice.
but he sat in a rocking chair while the sun went down.
Okay, all
Oh
right.
my gosh.
So it was a nice, but it just seemed like a pleasant thing, and he made all of the places sound fun. A lot of Mississippi, a lot in the South,
Yeah.
and a lot of plantations.
Right. I think, you know, the powerful part of his presentation was, you know, when he got historical and, you know, talked about, you know, a lot of these antebellum mansions, for instance. So that's, you know, the part of it that I enjoyed the most, and the accessibility. And I understand, you know, the whole drive to get something on film. And, you know, when you get something unusual, you want to share it. So it was an orb. I mean, I think we got to be careful, because I feel the same way you do about too many orb photos, but I have my own orb photos, and
Sure,
I
I
gotta
do too.
say, when I first started getting them, I was really enthused. I was really like, wow, I captured something, my first orb photo, and so we just have to understand that people are reaching out to the paranormal, and they're hoping they'll get something back. A lot of times it's pareidolia, dust, whatever. But I appreciated the effort, and he had an interesting one with the orb on a chair. Maybe
Like the
it
orb was sitting on a chair.
I'm just saying.
Just hanging out.
It
He's
was
like the
right
orb,
on.
like, waving
it
to it.
looked like it was sitting on the chair. I'm not passing judgment. I'm just saying that was a cool looking photo.
No, it's true. And I'm not passing judgment on the man. I'm passing judgment on orb photos.
On
Right.
the orb photo.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but he's written a ton of books about all these places.
Yeah.
And I think it's exciting to.
And does
to
he have
you
a
can-
university background, Mike?
Yeah,
Were you saying?
he's a doctor.
Wow.
Oh,
So
that's right.
Yeah. And so he's an English professor at a university because he gave me his card yesterday. 'Cause he's
So-
like, oh, we should have you in the
So he's a
podcast.
PhD, you mean? That kind of doctor?
Yeah, no, he didn't like.
He didn't operate on you?
he didn't operate on me or like give me like a colonoscopy or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Or
Okay.
take out your bothersome mental parts.
No, right.
We'll talk about that later.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But the haunted bed and breakfast sounds like a fun thing, and I always wanted to like have a list on Airbnb or something of these are all haunted places that people can go to visit. So maybe one day we'll create that.
Yeah.
But I think it's exciting to be, hey, these are the different haunted places you
Yeah.
can stay in different cities and in regions and things. And so if that's your thing, here are places you can go.
Right. So it was very user friendly
Yeah.
and helpful, and he was a very interesting guy.
Yeah. So that was Alan Brown, and he's written some books, and we'll put a link to him. The next up was Paranormal Sarah Soderlund. We saw her at the Paradigm Symposium as
Yep.
well. And she was basically talking about the psychology of the occult.
Right.
Why we're attracted to these things. Why are we interested in it? She had a very conservative, like Baptist background kind of thing. Where she grew up in Missouri,
Misery.
Yeah.
and she's like, and
Right
she even
across
said,
the bridge.
she even said that, talked about the Show Me State, whatever, a bunch of times, and
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's but the psychology of the occult kind of thing, and she's a good speaker.
I missed that one because I was hobnobbing with
That's
in
right,
the
you-
vendor area.
Yeah, she was in the vendor area trying to
Yeah,
get good deals.
By the way, A+ for the vendor area. That was one of the most fun vendor
Yeah.
rooms. I mean, there were a lot of interesting books
And the raffle.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of things I really wanted to win.
Man, there was
during
this
the raffle.
Okay, so for the raffle, they had a raffle, and I mean, some of it was like books by like a bunch of crazies, but the
Oh my
Wow.
gosh, Mike.
what?
What are you? Oh.
But some of it was awesome stuff. Like they had this table that was a Ouija board on top of the table,
like painted on the table.
painted on the table,
Yeah.
but it was a Ouija board of Edgar Allan Poe.
And it said Nevermore.
Yeah, I really wanted that one. I put
That's sweet.
a whole bunch of raffle tickets in there.
Yeah, we were rooting for you,
We
Allison.
were.
Yeah, but I'm glad I didn't win it because really we would have had to tie it to the roof.
Well, you
and-
would have had to leave one of us behind.
Yeah, I would have to. Yeah,
But-
I would have left Mike behind.
But it would have been. I would have accepted that.
Yeah,
I'd have been like,
it
"This
was
is
so cool.
This is totally
I
worth it.
understand.
Like
Yeah.
I shouldn't. I don't deserve a
You can
place in
walk
the
home.
car when Edgar Allan Poe has a place in the car.
Right. I agree.
So no, I wouldn't walk home. That's like the Oregon Trail out there. It's 90 degrees.
It's really warm.
I would have died by dysentery by the time I get halfway through Illinois.
Okay, so back to the vendor room.
Yes.
Let's describe it a little, shall we? Give a visual.
Yeah. So we have all these things for the raffle. This Edgar Allan Poe table. Oh, what else? Oh, they had like some creepy stuff too, like this old
dolls.
suitcase full of
Body
just
parts.
decrepit doll parts.
Yeah, disgusting.
Yes, and okay, so I put my raffle ticket in for that, of course.
Right, because
And,
a suitcase full of
why
doll
wouldn't
parts
ya?
is fun on the way home.
And some of the stuff that was at I think April Slaughter, who was here at the conference and did some events here, some after hours events. She's an artist. She's a writer. She was amazing, and she creates like these customized painted skulls, and so you could get one. It's like a $300 value, and so that was one of the prizes. But
They're not real human skulls, though.
I don't know. That was a question
yeah, I don't know
had.
either. I wonder.
I don't know. They
Wow,
look real. They look
that's a good
real
selling point,
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
isn't it? Like, well, it's probably a real human skull.
And it's fresh too. No, I
I
doubt
dug
that.
this up from a potter's field.
Yeah, I doubt that. But what she had that I really liked, I mean, that was cool, of course. But right next to that, there were some museum quality pieces of history from different haunted spots, like an original hotel key from, I think it was the Crescent Hotel. And so it was a cool, like, skeleton-looking key, and then it was in a frame with some
Nice.
description and an old picture.
It was all bloody.
But my favorite was the Haunted Charlotte. Not Haunted Charlotte, sorry. Everything's haunted at the Haunted America Conference. It's the Frozen Charlotte doll that was in this, museum quality case. It's this tiny little Cupid doll looking thing, which was, distributed widely in the 1800s. There were like a penny a piece, and there's a story that goes along with it. So Charlotte was kind of a fancy girl, and she went to a party with her boyfriend, and she didn't want to cover up her dress on the way home. And they were in like a open horse and carriage, or it might have even been like a sled, a horse-drawn sled, because it's in the middle of winter, and she didn't want to cover up her pretty party dress with her coat. So she refused to put her coat on, and by the time she got home, she was frozen solid. And so this was a popular story of Frozen Charlotte. And
Wait, what about her boyfriend? Like, what a jerk.
well,
Like, he just let her freeze solid. Like, he sees, like, her arms and everything, and she's, like, going blue.
Well,
and he
okay,
goes,
we don't-
guess you should have put that coat on,
I
huh?
think it's just one of those
Yeah.
cautionary tales.
Stupid Charlotte.
Well, I think this is just one of
Didn't
those
actually happen.
cautionary tales.
You're going to die in this
Because-
carriage.
Because when you hear, like, old fairy tales and old wives' tales, a lot of times, they're kind of brutal and scary, but you got to understand they were meant to scare
They're
kids.
created to.
Yeah,
Well, I understand. It's
meant
like
to
still fear.
scare,
Yeah.
scare
It's like our
kids
Christmas.
straight.
It's like our Christmas superstitions episode. Like, everything that
Yes.
anybody ever concocted around Christmas was like,
Monsters.
behave, or
Right.
something is going to eat you.
Well, we got to understand
Child.
that parents are just experiencing desperation now as they ever have.
Right.
That
Right.
it was true in the past just as well, that they had to make up these horrible stories. And then these dolls, these Frozen Charlotte dolls, became very, very popular. And they were available for a penny a piece. And
Was it like all blue?
I was wondering about that.
yeah, she
Like, what made Charlotte frozen?
I don't know. I mean, in the particular one
Didn't move.
that, well, I think, it's just made out of stone. So, so maybe that the fact that it's a little doll made out of stone,
Yeah.
or some hard material made it really cheap to produce. But that was
Frozen
what was
Charlotte.
frozen about it.
Its arms and legs don't move because it's frozen.
Yeah, right. It's like, it was easy to make because we didn't have to make the arms and legs move or
Right.
make it flexible in every way because it's frozen. So I just kind of went with the story. But anyway, it's just one of those cautionary tales again. But it became very popular. And this particular one that was in the April Slaughter piece that was available at the raffle was very small. And she said that it was used as a bath toy. I had read in previous sources that actually people would put them in cakes. Eat
Like the
cake,
king's cake.
and-
Sure.
Yeah, and then you'd get a frozen Charlotte, and
Oh,
then you were the
funny.
winner.
Yay, because nothing says party.
Like a
Like a
frozen dead girl in your cake.
Look at that. Hey, guys, she can't move.
So it just gives you an idea of, how in the past, death was something that you faced on a daily basis. So
Right.
even in children's toys, it was part of the backstory.
I think that's a good way to put it. In the past, death was just something around. Because
Right.
number one, I mean, the infant mortality rate was like 50%. So people were dealing with that, your little brother, your little sister. Like, those things were happening all the time.
And we had your wake in the house.
Yeah.
And something
so-
I was thinking about a lot this weekend was Ouija boards. because Ouija board stuff was everywhere.
Yeah, it was.
You know, a girl had a Ouija board dress on.
Yeah, that
Like,
was
that was
cute.
cute. That was really cute.
I really like that Ouija board dress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. And there were different types of talking boards that were being sold. And it made me think about, I was listening to the Jim Harold podcast a couple weeks ago, and they had a Ouija board expert on.
Oh yeah.
And he was talking about how the original Ouija board marketing was like a family playing it all together. And, you know, you think about spiritualism in the late 19th century and early 20th century, and they have millions of people die in the First World War. How many people died in the American Civil War? You very likely, I mean, I know people that didn't even, like during the Gulf War, didn't even know a single person in the Army, didn't even know a single person that served.
Yeah.
You know, they'd be like, yeah, I don't even know anybody in the Army. You're like, okay. Well, back then, it really was a different
Everybody,
thing. Everybody
yeah.
served, or everybody knew someone that died. And if they were trying to talk to a dead person, the Ouija board stuff, that's what I thought made it interesting. Because now, you know, people are like, whoa. I saw a post in Darkness Radio's Facebook group yesterday, and somebody's like, oh, I had a weird experience with the Ouija board. And all these people responded like, ooh, that Ouija board's going to get you. You know, like Milton Bradley's going to sell a doorway to hell, like in KB Toys or whatever. Like, you know what? We're just gonna
Let's open up the gates.
It's like $11.99, and you can talk to the devil himself.
That's right.
Like that's really gonna happen, you know? And so everybody had this attitude about it that I see all the time, like, oh, the Ouija board. I'm like, would you just watch The Exorcist too many times? Like, it's not really. If the talking boards even work, is all they're talking to demons? Like, get out of here.
Well, we should do an episode about that alone sometime, because
Right.
it comes up all the time.
I just thought it was really into like all the Ouija stuff we saw this weekend,
Yeah.
and just hearing that guy talking about the family doing it, and you're talking about Frozen Charlotte.
Thinking about different perspectives, historical perspectives. The historical perspectives in the 1800s, early 1900s, very different than today. And how everything is so cleaned up for us, and we're just like separated from some of the very important realities of life. And I think that people who are involved in the paranormal, in a way, part of the reason is to get back to that connection with with death.
Well, I mean, come on, the original funeral
In your parlor
was your parlor.
Was your parlor, yeah.
And Mom would even talk about when she was growing up. She's like, oh yeah, the dead person would just be in front of somebody's house.
Right.
And so we put up the black curtain, and like that's what you did. And now, can you imagine a dead person in your house?
No.
You'd be like, somebody's like, oh, I'm going to have a funeral in your home. You'd be like, get out of here. Like, I live in a studio.
Well, yeah, when you look at it, though, it's like, why is it more natural, though, to have somebody in your family taken somewhere else? You're completely separated from the death process.
Well, because people make more money when you don't think about it.
Right.
I think.
Well, I think
bottom
that's
line.
what happened there. But
speaking of different perspectives,
But it's also difficult. Like, the person was living, and now it's a lifeless body. So having that around, I don't know. I think that's
I understand why people would want it.
Right.
I just think that the connection to the fact that death is a part of life.
Yeah.
It might be better if we all just got a little closer to it.
Stronger connection.
Well, and also we people might not be so freaky about it. Like, somebody's sick, you go to the hospital. Somebody's injured, you call the paramedic, and they go away right away. And so we don't have that. This is where this person was injured right in my home. This is where the blood was. I'm not saying that would be a pleasant thing, but it might make us stronger. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But speaking of different perspectives,
right.
The next speaker was somebody who I've read 1,000 of her books, Rosemary Ellen Guiley.
That's right. And connects to the Ouija board too, and not everything being demonic, because what she was talking about was very different than
was the jinn.
What we're used to.
So the jinn, D-J-I-N-N, that's where genies come from.
Yeah, the Western concept of the genie is taken from the Islamic concept of the jinn.
Mm-hmm. And basically the jinn are kind of like angels, maybe.
Well, they came into the world at the same time angels came into the world according to the Quran. But they're different species, I guess you would say. They're made of a smokeless fire.
That's right.
Whereas we're
angels are made of
the
light.
dirt. Right.
We're made of dirt. Today I smell like it.
And, right. And the other thing is that, it all began, according to this interpretation of this presentation, when the angels, they agreed to kneel to us. They agreed to kowtow to humans. And the jinn refused to submit.
In fact, they said nay, nay.
Oh, wow.
So the jinn, they made a deal, I guess, with the creator that they could make their case against humanity and not having, to submit to humanity until Judgment Day. So their whole stated purpose is to undermine us because, they're trying to prove that, we're nothing special. And I don't know that God should
what's he going to do?
Throw us out with the bathwater? I don't know exactly what their ultimate goal is, but to prove to God, I guess, that they shouldn't have to submit to us.
But basically, the jinn they can be good, they can be evil, they can be tricksters. I mean, she made the jinn, first of all. So Rosemary Ellen Guy's written books about vampires and ghosts and witches. And I mean,
she's got some great encyclopedias. Like I have her encyclopedia that's all about ghosts. I don't know the exact name of it, but really incredible work. Just, so much detail. And the book is just like 2 inches thick at least.
Wow.
She's well researched.
Yeah.
But she was just straight up. And she's like, there is no the jinn, are they real? Are they, what's happening here? She's like, the jinn are real and they're coming for your cheese. Like it really was just, she's like, the jinn, they're outside this room right now. And if we go outside, they'll
No,
tear
I
us
mean,
to
it was more
pieces.
like they're in this room right now. They're
They're
among
everywhere.
us. Yeah.
Because the jinn can shapeshift.
Yes.
So they can be anything.
They can look like a normal human, but if you see a human that's not quite right looking,
Then it's me. Usually that's just me.
But if it's not Mike, it's the jinn. But yeah, it was like a unified theory of the paranormal because the jinn are the hidden ones, she said. They're like the great deceivers. They can appear as anyone or anything at any time and live, beyond their lifetime. So, they're really hard to track. They can curse families or, besiege families generation upon generation was her point.
Brutal.
So you don't want to get in bad with the jinn. You just want to stay under their radar, apparently. But, what was interesting is that, she's saying all these incidents of high strangeness, of men in black, of demons, ghosts, aliens,
the old hag.
cryptids.
She was on like the old hag and like night terrors and when you have that kind of the freezing.
That suppression, that pressure on your chest
Well,
at night.
that's the jinn, baby.
Yeah. Well, the idea was that, all of these things could have a central cause. It could be the jinn shape-shifting to appear in many different forms. And she said, we don't really know what their actual form is, that they shapeshift so much, who knows what they originally were.
yeah.
And God gave him like another dimension to live. So God's like, here you go.
Oh, right.
Live in this other dimension.
Hence the connection to the fairies, the fairy realm, because, some fairy researchers think that fairies are creatures just like us, except they live in another dimension. And so, that idea that the jinn have a dimension alongside ours and can come in and invade at any time. So, to me, it was an interesting perspective-changing presentation that we should, rethink these things and maybe consider that it could be one kind of deceiving force that's behind
Sure.
it all.
I think Rosemary is well spoken,
Yeah, very much so.
but I don't buy the jinn.
Okay.
Just
I know there's a lot of people skeptical of this theory.
Right. I know there's a lot of people skeptical of the fact that there's no evidence that jinn exists. Like,
Okay.
You could be like Bigfoot. Yeah, Bigfoot is a creature that exists because it's a creature we just haven't discovered yet. You could be aliens come from a different planet and life exists on other planets. We pretty much know that life has got to exist in the universe because the universe is so big and there's so many chances for it to exist. If you're just going to tell me that some dude talked about this in the Quran and you expect me to believe it, get out of town. You know, like, I'm just saying, people have weird things happen to me. Because she's like, oh, shadow people are jinn. I'm like, no, that doesn't mean anything.
It seemed like it's just a nice, convenient package to put anything that's paranormal that's ever been seen. Because it was like, Mothman, he's a jinn. Bigfoot, he's a jinn. Shadow people are jinns.
Robin Williams in Aladdin,
ETs.
he's a jinn. Well,
Right.
he actually is a jinn.
Right.
Well, no, but it just, you know, and I get that was the point, but it's like, oh man, it's all just going to be lumped into one group,
Right.
You know, I don't know.
And you're
It's-
sticking this then with a belief system.
Right. Well,
that's true,
I'm
but-
just thinking it's another way to look at it.
It is.
You
That's a
know,
good point.
I would have liked to have seen more historical documentation because I thought, wow, this is, you know, like you're saying, Mike, where's the evidence? Well, you know, where's the evidence for any of this? But,
Well, no, there's Bigfoot feet prints.
Oh, yes.
Like we have
Big
Bigfoot
feet.
feet, and that's a there's big feet or little foot. And
We know you got big feet for. We'll paste,
No, I've got.
Yeah, we gotta post a
I've
picture
got
of those
tiny little dogs.
big feet.
But
I know.
but the fact is, so there's evidence of Bigfoot. People see a UFO. You know, I've seen a shadow person. I know other people have seen shadow people. Are you going to just tell me, oh, yeah, well, you know, this is all explained in the Quran? What? No, it wasn't.
Well, okay. So I think in paranormal presentations in general, they're strongest when they're evidence-based, when they go back to documents and they take you through the documents to show you the connections. So, you know, certainly that would have made a presentation about something as revolutionary as this more hard-hitting if you would have gone back to the documents and really made connections between these phenomena and the idea of the
It's not just that. It's you just tell me genies are real. Genies are real, and they're trying to take over our planet. It's a little far out there. And I think that Rosemary is a very persuasive speaker, and she's an excellent writer. But I'm just saying, we got to start with the base. When you go to church and somebody's talking about Jesus or whatever, you're like, okay, we're all agreeing here that Jesus is real. I'm going to church, so I accept that fact. When you're in a presentation and somebody's like, okay, genies, like I Dream of Jeannie, like Barbara Eden, she's real, baby. And then she really tried to get,
Well, that is your dream, Mike. But the point is, I understand your skepticism, but all of this stuff, taking all of this stuff in, is a leap of faith, and it's just another perspective.
Yeah.
And you know what I would have liked to see more of it, and you know, hopefully I will be able to see more of this in the future. And I would like to really get Rosemary's books on the subject.
No, we're gonna have Rosemary on the show. We'll
Yeah,
bring her on the show.
It would be cool to ask her about jinn experiences in other countries, and you know, to find out what some of that is like what people's experiences have been.
Well, now, and you went to a special seminar with Rosemary afterwards
I did
last night.
Yeah, last night.
And so
after hours event.
Are
she
you
had
still wearing the...
a psychic protection event?
Okay, so how did you get the psychic... Did you have to bring something to the psychic protection event?
Well, I think that would have been a good idea because at the end, she invited us to, you know, have a object with us, like a special object, like a stone or an amulet or some form of jewelry that you could charge with protective energy.
You could use your phone.
And I just had
charge that
like
all the time.
That's with you all the time.
I did have a phone, so I could have thought of that.
If it's got protective energy, do you have to plug that in, or what's the deal? Like, is there
Well,
USB?
It comes from you. Comes from your energy field, and which was interesting to me because she talked about how the most compelling part of it was this idea that, you know, some people really can command a room. They come in, you feel them, you know, like yards away almost, coming down the hallway or coming up to you. You feel them before they even get to you.
I see that when alpha males walk in the room.
Yeah,
And then I'm
well-
like, I cower and I go into the corner.
Well, as you should. But that's their energy field coming at you, would be her argument. And that they're able to push their energy out. Whereas people that are a little bit more mousy, they have like kind of low energy and are keeping their energy field close to themselves.
Okay.
And which I feel I do a lot. But anyway, so it was interesting, this whole idea of expanding your energy field out. And she talked about using meditation to do that. She talked about.
So what was the biggest tip you got from it?
Well, that you should meditate every day to try to strengthen
I agree
your
with that.
aura. That's the main way to do it, and that she recommended too going to a medical qigong practitioner.
What's that? I've never heard of that before.
So that's a form of energy work. I believe it's Chinese in origin. So
Like
kind of
Reiki
like
or some-
Tai Chi, but it's where you move the energy through your body, and there are practitioners in China that are quite sought after, that are able to do some apparently amazing things. So she said, find a medical qigong practitioner and have them check your energy field, because if there's any beings out there that are non-physical, if there really are, she said, well, they derive their energy through you, basically. I mean, they can derive some energy from a place, but they really would like to get an attachment to you and suck some of your life
and
energy
she talked
off.
about that with the jinn too.
Yeah.
She's like they get attached to you, and that they can be spider-like beings on your back,
the Scudlers, she called them. I like that idea.
The Doctor Who episode Planet of the Spiders, when the spiders are on Sarah Jane's back and they control her.
Yeah, she talked about them attaching to the top of your spine, so right underneath the nape of your neck. So that was really interesting for me, just the visualization of
But
that.
I think that's good message to everybody, that meditation,
Yeah. Oh,
like-
and we know meditation is good for you, but
right.
I like the idea
try
of
to get out of your own head for 10 minutes a day.
exploring energy
you'll be a
work.
stronger person.
Is the message that I got out of it.
I don't know
that
if I buy the
maybe
Reiki stuff or anything yet.
Well,
but
she did mention Reiki, but she doesn't. She has a background in some energy work, but she said she never has taken a Reiki class.
I don't know that I buy acupuncture, honestly.
Well, it's all up for debate.
It
But
is, yes, but-
she did recommend acupuncture as well. So
Sure,
acupuncture
against the gin.
or against any form of attack to strengthen your energy field.
But I think it's a good message, the idea that get out of your own head for a little bit. Take care of yourself. Take care of like that's going to make the strongest defense against anything negative is you not being negative. And trying to realize that you are not your thoughts.
Well, and it's just, again, another way to look at it. So I was inspired, I think I'm going to look into some energy work. And
I'm doing energy work on you right now.
Yes, yeah, I can feel you drilling into my brain. But get some, qigong and see what that's like.
I just give you a lobotomy. Speaking of lobotomies, so that was the one of the presentations was on the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
That's right. That was the final presentation of the day.
And when you
actually.
call something a lunatic asylum, like you're not even trying to couch your words or anything.
Well, that was
like
that was the original name of it, and then it changed names like 4 times.
Sure, because in the 90s, nobody was calling
But
anything a lunatic asylum.
It was a lunatic asylum, and then they changed it to an insane asylum, and then it was like I don't know, medical something. And
right, because you can't just be like, well, you're going to the insane asylum.
No, but I mean it's old, so
Right.
And the presenter was Sherry Blake from hauntedhistory.net, I believe.
She did a good job with the history. She did a good job
Yeah.
with the newspaper articles. I really
her
like that.
present. Actually, I thought hers was one of my favorites.
I like the fact that she said in the 50s, lobotomies were more popular than tonsillectomies.
That's right. There were more lobotomies performed than tonsillectomy. That's crazy.
Right, and the fact that there was this guy, and we're going to have to do a whole full episode
Oh, my
on this
goodness.
lobotomist. But
At that particular asylum, that's like where he kind of started off.
he could do lobotomies in 10 minutes.
Just take that ice pick and ram it into your
Right
eye.
in your eye. Oh,
You're all done.
oh man,
You're going to feel a slight twinge.
it was so good. It was so good. So we're sitting there
Oh, no.
watching the presentation, and then we all know what a lobotomy is because we've all seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So we all know, what happens to Jack Nicholson, and spoilers for a
Right.
34-year-old movie.
So
And
good.
Like the big Indian can't handle the fact that Jack Nicholson's personality is destroyed, so he kills him and runs away. And lobotomies, there's a movie called Sucker Punch about a girl in an insane asylum. And the whole thing is that it's like a countdown to a lobotomy. I feel like that's part of Return to Oz, too.
Well, I can't remember, but certainly it had a big effect on our culture. And you see that reverberated in, the way the pop culture treats it today. But, these things were real.
But
These
the fact
terrible
that this-
interventions.
Yeah, and they said, like, if somebody's personality was so troublesome, we're going to remove your personality. But it was so good because it's the ice pick through the eye. And Wendy didn't know that. And then
I didn't know that.
they show the picture of it, and she's like, "Ah!"
I shrieked out loud but it was an actual photograph of a guy with like the pick in his eye socket, like one of those old black and white photos, and it was disgusting.
It was just one of those
It
great,
shocked me.
It was
It
just
really
one of those great moments. Like, you're sitting there watching something, and this is just somebody crapping their pants. Like, yeah!
And even like
They
my
gotcha.
my own shriek even like scared me, like because I was like not expecting it. I was just like, oh. Anyway,
And so her presentation was really good. She didn't tell too many ghost stories about the Trans Allegheny Museum.
it was very historical, and she talked about the horrible treatments that they gave people, and the overpopulation of the place, and so you could see where a lot of troubled souls might result from that that might hang around, and it's, I mean, she was the
that
haunted.
made sense.
And Christopher St. Booth, who, he talked about Waverly Hills Sanitarium in Louisville, Kentucky, a lot on his episode. If you're into sanitariums, he just released a book on Waverly Hills Sanitarium. So we'll have to link to that in the show notes too. If you're into sanitariums, because I know Madison has a haunted one too.
Yeah,
The north side of Madison, they have.
we should check that out.
We run
Field trip.
I ran by the Madison Marathon. Like, you run
Oh,
right
cool.
by it because it's also the highest point in the marathon too. So I was gonna go crazy. I'm like, oh god. But her presentation was good. Troy Taylor, the guy that ran the whole
Yes.
thing, he put on a nice presentation with his writing partner Renee Cruz,
Yep, that's right.
and I thought that they had a nice
She's been here forever.
since it was the 20th. It was a 20th convention.
I think she's probably been at every one.
She wasn't at the first one.
Oh, okay.
Not the 20th anniversary,
so
but it
19 then.
was the 20th convention.
But they told a lot of stories about their experiences with ghost hunting. And
Yeah, and
was
my
cool.
favorite was when Trey talked about being, kind of fooled into coming, or duped into coming to a haunted farm.
In northern
And-
Indiana. So
yeah,
he was
and-
coming from St. Louis to northern
Yeah,
Indiana.
and these people were really bothering him to come, and he reluctantly said, "Okay, I'll come." And then he finds out when he gets there that they believe the barn is haunted by fairies, and then he was like, "Bye," and because he really his opinions seem to go towards more straight-laced ideas of ghost are ghost, and that's what he's interested in.
Yeah.
And not
Well,
so much
because-
other phenomena.
Because ghosts is something you can believe in, because you can think that the spirit, after we die, like, maybe goes somewhere. Or if you're a religious person, you automatically believe that the spirit goes somewhere after you die. But when you're saying, like, no, there's these little creatures that live in the woods, and sometimes they have tea with Arthur Conan Doyle.
Okay, well, but that comes from our maybe a misinformed idea of what fairies are, rather than just some kind of trans-dimensional being.
energy or something. Yeah.
Right. But anyway, so the compelling part of the story was he's in there in the barn, and the people say, well, we have to put out chocolate cake and Jim Beam whiskey for the fairies. That's what they like, and then they'll show
fairy
up.
food.
And he's like,
I do.
what?
Just a message to
And-
the listeners. I do too. So if you can leave it out for me, I'll show
He's
up.
like, what? Why am I here? And then they put out the treats for the fairies and turn out the lights, and sure enough, he hears something quite big going over and start munching on the cake, and he turns on the flashlight. Big surprise, not a fairy, it's a big rat. So anyway,
But it had wings.
he's really upset about being there at this point. He just feels trapped.
Yes, he drove
And-
like 8 hours.
Yeah.
That's the other side of the planet. from
Right.
him.
So he's just sitting there in the dark in the barn, really wondering about his life choices. And And then
I'm feeling that right now.
suddenly he hears this weird sound as it's almost like it sounds like a screen door opening, some kind of weird sliding sound which he can't place. And then as that's going on, and just before that sound actually as well, there's 2 horses in the barn, and they start like stomping and snorting in unison. And then the sliding sound comes, and then he's looking around. It feels like the atmosphere has changed in some way. And then on the other side of the barn, it just lit up. This very, very bright, hard to look at light. And of course he's thinking, is it a car? Is it, but he's out in the middle of nowhere. So that explanation doesn't make sense. And it even makes less sense when the light actually comes into the barn.
Yeah.
And they watch this blinding light cross through the barn and then pass through the other side. And he's never experienced anything like that.
And that's interesting because there's a very similar story, something that happened in the Madison jail in 1872.
Oh, that's right.
That a circle of light had passed through the jail and into one of the cells, and the people were freaking out about it. So maybe
it was
that
a cool story that he told because, knowing that he was skeptical going into it, and then he came out of it
maybe that was fairies in the Madison jail.
thinking something clearly is different here.
That was a good story. And then a speaker after Troy was Scotty Roberts,
Scotty!
who we know from the Paradigm Symposium, and then we partied with him all weekend too, and it was fun.
And
hanging out
he
with
gave a
Scotty.
really great talk about his Egyptian travels and
Paranormal
studies
adventures.
and a personal experience that he had, which was really cool because it was a different kind of thing from the Paradigm, which was very scientific, very factual, very scholarly. And this was him sharing some of the experiences that he couldn't explain,
His feelings
that were more emotional. Yeah, exactly. So I enjoyed that, seeing that aspect of it.
It was pretty fun, and he's gone to Egypt multiple times. Him and his partner John Ward, and they've done
Because John Ward has a whole dig site out there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
they've done a whole bunch of archaeological stuff.
And he's got books about his research and everything, which...
And he talked about, the story of Moses and how that connects to an ancient Egyptian.
Grand Vizier,
Okay. Which is like somebody who can stand in for the pharaoh.
right?
Like the second in command. In
Right, like the Pharaoh's vice president.
Oh, right.
And so the idea, he really connected it to how this particular Pharaoh's vice president might be the historical Moses. And so he talked about the dates, and it was cool because half of it was almost like, here's where we could try to find the historical Moses. And what I thought was interesting is he connected that to, Moses had the experience of the burning bush. God's talking to him. He's like, I'm going to give you some commandments to write down in the stone tablet. I'm going to take care of it. I am a bush that's alive and talking to you. I'm Yahweh. And how that was a personal experience. His story was a personal experience. Much like, nobody was there.
Right.
Nobody else was there when Moses was around. Moses was just like in the desert talking to a bush. And his experience was solitary as well. So I liked it how it was tracing the history of Moses and at the same time relating it to the fact that Moses had a personal experience and his experiences in Egypt were personal as well.
Right. He had his own subjective spiritual experience there, which is, kind of too detailed and personal to get into at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, a beautiful thing that he was able to share that.
That was cool.
Yes, it was nice. It was nice. And Scotty was regaling us all weekend with interesting EVPs and stories and things that
Very
he'd
cool.
experienced when he was at Gettysburg, because I didn't realize that he was the TAPS editor for their magazine.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So he was the editor of their magazine, and so he'd done a bunch of stuff with the guys from the Ghost Hunters and had gone out on some, and so he was talking about the weird things, like when a ghost said his name or everything.
Oh, wow.
EVPs where it says hey, Scotty. I'm like, whoa!
And Scotty is another Wisconsinite.
That's
He lives
right.
in New Richmond.
New Richmond, so just
Another
outside
cheesehead.
of the Twin Cities.
And I just want to say that this was great to be back at the conference. So many amazing speakers, And beyond that, also to see, all the vendors, to reconnect with some people in
Oh man, we haven't even talked about
the museum.
the traveling museum of the paranormal and occult. We'll put some pictures in there because I looked in the Black Mirror.
So did I.
So did I.
We all did.
And
I saw something terrifying. A double chin.
I saw how old I was getting.
Yes, which is horrible.
But we'll show you the pictures.
Better than the
We'll
alternative.
show you the pictures of us looking into the Black Mirror, and
That's
we'll
right.
put more stuff about the Travel Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult.
Right,
And we'll
and
have
it's-
Greg and Dana on the show
Yeah,
sometime.
Greg and Dana Newkirk
From Planet
Greg
Weird.
and Dana Newkirk from Planet Weird, and The Week in Weird. They're just amazing, and they couldn't have been nicer.
No, they really couldn't have been nicer.
And
I don't
they
trust
have
them.
Just such amazing artifacts.
Yeah, it was cool.
And they also told me, Greg told me this story about they have a plaster cast of an orang pendek print, and he talked about being on Finding Bigfoot. They were on Finding Bigfoot this season, and one of the amazing things about it was meeting Cliff from Finding Bigfoot, but also finding out that Cliff actually is so interested in orang pendek research. And orang pendek, if you don't know what that is, that's actually nicknamed Littlefoot. It's a 3-foot creature like a Sasquatch, but just smaller.
Baby Bigfoot.
Yeah, baby
Yeah.
Bigfoot. That's been reported, by native people for,
But instead of running, they hug him.
millennia. Right. You just
They just
feel
think, "Oh my God,
compelled
I gotta give you
to
a
hug
hug."
the little furry guy. But anyway, he's been seen by people in Indonesia, and that's an archipelago that has thousands of islands and it's very remote. So it's very possible that there could be some unknown primate that's there, and it also connects with Homo floresiensis. Look it up, people. But anyway,
That's the Hobbit.
yes, look it up. Anyway, it was so amazing that Cliff from Finding Bigfoot actually pays people in Indonesia out of his own pocket to go around and look for evidence of orang pendek. So that's where they actually got
That is amazing, but he only
print
pays them.
from.
He only pays them 10 cents an hour, so he's actually
That's not-
exploiting the people of Indonesia.
Oh my gosh, that is not true. That is terrible. But anyway, he's a nice guy, and the fact that he's paying for this out of his own pocket is an incredible contribution, and it makes me even doubly excited to see if there's any evidence that comes out of that.
I hope we find that magical cryptid.
I hope so
Littlefoot,
too. I think it's gonna happen. My favorite cryptid.
Orangutan.
That's
no,
right.
orang pendek, Mike. Oh man,
It's a cross between an orangutan, a penguin, and something else.
And Mike.
And a duck.
a duck. Well, we're about to get kicked out of our hotel room.
Okay,
Yes,
so we gotta go.
we're out of
Anyway,
time.
Fulton, Illinois, the
It's so
Haunted
much
America
fun.
Conference, we had a really fun time.
Great weekend. Yes.
So, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Another great thing about the Haunted America Conference was meeting all of the open-minded and open-hearted people who were there to talk about the mysteries of the universe and to search for truth and meaning in the world. And that's something that in our song Cynical, from the Sunspot album Cynical, we talk about that feeling when you get lost in cynicism and skepticism and start feeling like there's no kind of mystery in the world. And so there's a line in this song that says, "I will search no more for truth or meaning again." And the kind of cool people that we met this weekend are definitely the kind of people who won't stop searching for that truth and meaning. So here's Sunspot's track, Cynical. As I sit here just existing, nothing moves me, I am listening, desperate for some inspiration to break my lowered expectations. The graffiti on the wall might as well be a Bible. There's no justice or fair play. There is no hell or judgment day. I look out of my window and I'm blinded by monotony. The darkness of a world so bright.
The world will leave me whole if I let it get the best there is of me. Trapped in a rut, the world has kicked my butt. I will look no more for truth or meaning again. I will look no more for truth or meaning again.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. You can find us online at OthersidePodcast.com. Until next time, see you on the other side.
The gin are real, and they're coming for your cheese.